Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. A Yukon wheelchair athlete is in hospital after being struck by a vehicle. Daryl Tate was hand cycling along the Alaska Highway when he was struck by a passing motorist. It left him with severe injuries. Cycling advocates are now sounding the alarm for more to be done to improve bike safety. George Moratis reports.
Daryl Tate was hand cycling along the Alaska Highway Saturday night, training for the upcoming Canada Summer Games, when he was struck from behind, right around here.
I had this big thud from behind and I blacked out for a moment. And when I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't see anything. And then the next thing I knew, like I could see and hear, and I was just like skidding down the road with the vehicle driving off. I didn't see any brake lights as I like slid sideways towards the ditch. I saw the vehicle driving off and not stop.
Tate was rushed to hospital with multiple injuries.
Right now, my left arm's paralyzed and I can't use it, and I have a couple of broken ribs and broken L2 vertebrae. But I'm in pretty good shape considering what just happened.
We're hoping that anyone in the public who may have witnessed the incident or who has dash cam footage could reach out to the Whitehorse RCMP and provide us with a copy of that or statement. We're not treating this as a hit-and-run investigation. However, the investigation is ongoing.
Tate's accident comes almost a year to the date. Cyclist Joe Morrison was struck and killed while riding to work along the Alaska Highway in another part of the city. Cycling advocates say much more needs to be done to improve safety.
I've moved up in 2015. It's definitely improved since then, but there's still a long way to go, especially if you are choosing or need to commute along the highway. There's really no protection for you as a cyclist. And I don't think drivers realize how dangerous and how scary it can be to have someone drive a foot away from you going 60, 70 kilometers an hour.
A memorial ride to mark the one-year anniversary of Morrison's death and to raise awareness for bike safety is planned for June 16th. Meanwhile, Tate remains in hospital with another recovery ahead. George Moratis, CBC News, Whitehorse.
The Nunavut Employees Union is worried that some Inuit are being left out of the territory's language incentive program. The program offers a financial bonus to Inuit who speak Inuktitut and work in the public service. Carl Cardinal has the details.
There are 3 collective agreements within the public service. Each applies language bonuses and incentives a little differently. The bilingual bonus, mainly for French, is a fixed amount of $1,500 per year. The Inuktitut language incentive has 3 levels, ranging from $5,000 down to $1,500 per year, and you need to take a test to qualify. Jason Rochon is the president of the Nunavut Employees Union. He's questioning the low number of Inuit receiving the Inuktitut incentive from the 2022-2023 Public Service Report.
There were 712 Inuit getting compensated for Inuktitut, and we know that there's over 1,700 members that speak Inuktitut. That are Inuit. We know that not every single member speaks Inuktitut, but people know if they speak Inuktitut or not. When I was hired and my first language was English, they never gave me a proficiency test.
David Akiagok is the Minister of Human Resources. He says those numbers reflect the current reality of Inuktitut speakers.
Those are the tests that came, and that's the reflection of our public service.
Rochon says the system puts unfair barriers on Inuit, and it is not applied equally.
If you're Indigenous or Inuit in Nunavut, you have to prove that you speak Inuktitut, and then they put you on a list, and it could take 8 years to get tested. They don't take into any consideration about the dialect that member should be tested in. It's completely chaotic, it's colonial.
Right now, employees can choose from 5 dialects when they take the test. David Akiagok agrees that the backlog was huge when the program began in 2017. But he says things have improved with online testing and outreach in communities.
When it started in 2017, there was a big backlog of people that applied and waited for the test. A lot of good efforts have taken place, and so that has improved quite significantly.
From that same report, 88 public servants speak French, and all of them get a bilingual bonus. No test required. But if you speak Inuktitut, you still have to pass one. Carl Cardinal, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Results are in for chief and council elections for the NWT's Cliton communities. There are some new people stepping in to lead, while other chiefs won re-election. In Betchicombe, Bertha Rebeska Zoe beat out longtime incumbent chief Clifford Daniels. The win makes Rebeska Zoe the first woman to serve as chief in Betchicombe. In Wati, Charlie Nitsiza is back in as chief. He previously served in the role from 2005 to 2009. Adeline football has been acclaimed as chief in Wekwati for a second term. And in Gamati, it appears Doreen Arrowmaker has been re-elected. CBC hasn't seen official results, but Arrowmaker has posted a victory speech on social media. The Northwest Territories government has updated the status of 3 major infrastructure projects expected to cost billions of dollars. Each is at a different stage, but the GNWT says the goal is to begin construction on at least 2 by 2028. Nadir Hashmi reports.
The government of Northwest Territories says construction on 2 of its big infrastructure projects could start by 2028. Strategic Infrastructure Minister Caroline Wozniak updated Yellowknife City Council yesterday on 3 key projects. First, the Mackenzie Valley Highway, an all-season road from Wrigley to Tulita and Norman Wells. Wozniak says construction could begin by 2028 with a goal to finish in 3 to 4 years.
The Mackenzie Valley Highway, which has already been sort of built in stages with an optimized timeline for construction, as well as a route that makes sense to the communities that it goes through, then that one is likely to be ready for construction first.
Next could be the Slave Geological Corridor, an all-season road northeast of Yellowknife through a mineral-rich region to the Nunavut border, and with the potential to link to the proposed Arctic Port and Road project. No construction start date has been set, but Wozniak says they are in talks with the Clicho government and Yellowknife Dene First Nation to partner on the project.
With the partnerships that are there, could potentially be sort of second in line. Those 2 make sense, would go one after the other.
And third is the Tolson Hydro expansion, which Wozniak says could move ahead around the same time. It would link the South Slaves hydro plant to Yellowknife, running a cable under Great Slave Lake, boosting renewable power capacity. The project was estimated to cost $1 billion. Now, Wozniak says that's grown to about $3 billion. A jump, she says, isn't unusual for projects like this.
Because when I hear some of the numbers coming out of the nation-scale projects from our friends to the south and provinces, these 3 are not that outrageous. They're a lot for us.
If things fall into place, Wozniak says they aim to start construction for the Tolson project in 2028 and have the first power by 2033. Nadir Hashmi, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The Yukon Forum is set to look a whole lot different in the future. The meeting happens 4 times a year between First Nations and the Yukon government. This week's meeting was the last for 2 major players at the table. Yukon Premier Ranj Pillay and Council of Yukon First Nations Grand Chief Peter Johnston are both stepping down this month. They'll each be replaced at leadership conventions in the weeks ahead. This was Johnston's 34th Yukon Forum. He's been at all of them since they started on a regular basis in 2017. Johnston says the regular meetings make a big difference for communication between governments.
I think we've made significant progress in the last 9 years that we've ever made in the 125 years Yukon has been established as a territory. So we have to reflect on that too as well, that we have moved Grey Mountain over just a little bit, and I think it's important to reflect on that too.
The next Yukon Forum will welcome a new Grand Chief and a new Premier. They'll be chosen on June 25th and June 19th, respectively. Whitehorse City Council has set priorities for its 4-year term. The 6 new goals include improving community safety and active transportation. Mayor Kirk Cameron says updating infrastructure tops the list.
We have aging infrastructure here. We're built around municipal infrastructure that in many cases goes back to the 1940s and 50s. And we have this strange thing called climate change. So we have Robert Service Way we've got to worry about. We've got to worry about a water treatment facility. These things are all colliding at the same time to drive the cost for us up quite dramatically.
Cameron says Whitehorse was originally built as a small transportation hub, and officials didn't take into account its future or accelerated population growth. He says that legacy remains, and it's council's job to expand infrastructure and modernize the city. The Liberal government's new border bill aims to give law enforcement sweeping new powers. But civil liberties groups say it also has the potential to take away some rights from Canadians. Marina von Stackelberg has the details.
Civil liberties and privacy advocates say Canada's new Strong Borders Act could actually remove the barriers that protect your private information.
It's just a blank check of these new powers.
Bill C-2 would expand law enforcement's authority to open and inspect your mail and make it easier for police to search your computer or device if they deem it urgent.
This legislation is about your personal data and personal information. And that data and information can reveal a trove of background about our lives.
Police would also have the power to force telecoms and digital platforms to hand over details of your online use. That includes your smartphone and internet, email and messaging apps, details like when you use them and where you were, without a warrant.
This really does invite potential fishing expeditions.
This expert in privacy law says police could demand that information if they suspect you violated any federal law, not just the criminal code.
This really puts our privacy at risk. And you don't have to take my word for it. The Supreme Court of Canada has repeatedly examined exactly these issues and has articulated unequivocally that Canadians have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And in effect, we have the government saying, well, no, you don't.
But child protection advocates say police need easier and faster access to this information. This center receives tips of online exploitation of children. Police often need to link a computer's IP address to a suspect. The process of requesting that data can take months. By then, that information may have already disappeared.
There are pieces of information that are only in the possession of companies that provide internet services to subscribers.
The Association of Chiefs of Police says Canada lags behind its allies. So this new legislation simply modernizes this country's laws so police can keep up with the new technology criminals use. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
This astonishing world, with its infinite possibilities, calls to the world shapers, impact makers, visioneers. Together, let's unlock potential everywhere.
Welcome to your new home.
Mais il est trop chaud. He understands French. I'm not seeing this as a suicide.
Someone sure wanted us to think it was.
Gallagher is suspect number 1.
Tell me, was it the man politics you didn't like, or the fact that he's living with your wife? I know he's into something. I just got to prove it.
No, we all have a past. Find his.
Be careful around Fitz. Donnie's got a lot of demons that tend to appear when no one expects it.
New year, new school, new uniform. High school was a chance at reinvention, a whole new me. Who to join? Jocks? Nerds? This was life or death.
Take a risk. Life's short. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Just live your own.
Sometimes you find yourself in the right place at the right time. And if you're there with the right people, well, it doesn't get any better than that.
I brought a few friends along with me today.
3, 2, 1.
Mom, you're embarrassing me in front of the dragons. Take me home, James.
Full of surprises here on The Den. Dragon's Den. Watch free on CBC Gem.
12 of Britain's best amateur bakers have made it to the tent.
This is an absolute dream.
Every inch of their baking skill will be scrutinised.
Lovely jubbly.
Those that falter will leave the tent.
One wrong move and it's over.
You want a game? Bring it on.
Go, go, go!
Oh my God! We need help out there.
Yeah, we'll come for you.
This is it! Canada's ultimate challenge.
Fire crews are getting help fighting the Tulip Lake fire near Fort Smith NWT. A U.S. incident management team has arrived and is assisting with operations. NWT Fire says some recent wet weather has helped. The fire is projected to be just over 14,000 hectares in size at last estimate. The incident management team has come north through a cooperation agreement called the Northwest Compact. Over 100 team members are now fighting the fire. They're assisted by 18 helicopters and 2 fixed-wing aircraft. Fires are currently burning across the country. Thousands of people are fleeing their homes in Western Canada because of them. But at the same time, hundreds of others go towards them. Firefighters helping protect communities and critical infrastructure. Caroline Bargout has some of their stories.
Bridge is good, man. Keep moving. Forward.
For days, Clifford Nabes and 7 of his colleagues at the Keewatin Railway Company have been heading into the heat of the wildfires burning around Sheridan and Puckatawagan. Their job is to refuel the water pumps that are keeping flames from reaching 16 train bridges, essential for transporting goods and people to those remote communities.
Majority of the time, you got to get through it. You can feel the heat right through the side of the windows. There's a few times we've drove through fire where it's actually raining fire on the window.
Nabes estimates he's seen between 50 to 60 miles of forest that's been destroyed around Puckatawagan and Sheridan.
This is what it looks like when wildfires burn through wooded areas. As you can see, it is still smoldering. Emergency responders come in with heavy machinery, knock down some of these trees, and create what's called a fire break to prevent the flames from spreading. Then firefighters on the ground and helicopters in the air come in with water to try to put out the flames. After spending 22 years in the United States Marines, Rob Brunken decided to get his pilot's license. Now he flies for Columbia Helicopters in Aurora, Oregon. When the American company heard Manitoba needed air support to fight growing wildfires, they assembled a crew, loaded up 2 choppers, and came to help.
We kind of showed up, kicked all our gear out, and have just been trying to help wherever we can.
Brunken says you can't put out wildfires with a helicopter and a water bucket, but they provide critical air support for firefighters on the ground.
There's usually what's called an air attack. It's an aircraft that circles overhead that can see the whole fire, and they can see us, they can see all the air assets and the ground assets. So really they're coordinating kind of, the coach of the whole thing. They're coordinating between the ground crews and the helicopter crews or even the aircraft, how to get the fire to burn itself out. That's really what we're trying to do.
Gary Lejam and his team use bulldozers to break up the tree line to prevent fires from spreading. He says most of the time it works.
You'll make just like a road allowance, and then when the fire gets there, it's got to kind of stop. It's got no fuel. The only time the fire goes over that is if there's big, heavy winds, and sometimes it'll fly over top.
These are just 3 of the emergency responders on the front lines of the Manitoba wildfire fight, doing the best they can to save people and property.
Wind keeps gusting.
Now they just need the weather to cooperate. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, The Pas.
Artificial intelligence is everywhere nowadays. You can use it to find recipes, write letters, do research. But what could it mean for the public service? Jocelyn Chappelle has that story.
AI is becoming increasingly apparent within workplaces, especially generative AI applications that can create various types of media, cutting down work times. And experts say this technology is here to stay. But what does that mean when the workplace is the NWT government? Boyega Ojo is the Canada Research Chair in Governance and Artificial Intelligence.
For the first few years, you're going to be thinking about
the foundation, trustworthy AI infrastructure, developing the human resources and talents, preparing the people of the region to be able to trust and use those things. But once those things have been built, you're going to see a ramp up of applying AI to address specific priorities and issues within those provinces. All right. So at the beginning, things are going to look very similar.
The NWT Department of Finance says it's working on AI guidelines and hope to have them ready by the end of this month. And that work on a formal policy framework is underway. Right now, employees are directed to follow the federal guide on generative AI use, which includes things like fact-checking for bias and being transparent when it is used. In a statement, the department says AI could be used in administrative automation, data analysis, and software development. It also says using AI with sensitive information, critical infrastructure, and significant policy decisions will require human oversight. Ojo says from his discussions at the federal level, he doesn't see widespread job cuts in the public sector or other governments as a result of AI.
Implementing AI initiatives in government is really about putting these public servants at the center of this automation so that it's actually using empowering them to do their own jobs better and creating better services for people, making better decisions, making better policies, and of course.
The NWT government says whatever AI models it chooses to use will have rigorous security assessments. Right now, there are no approved AI suppliers for employees to use. Jocelyn Chappelle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Anticipation is building in Tuktoyaktuk as the community gets ready for construction to start on its new Arts and Culture Center. It's set to begin next month. Des Loreen tells us all about it.
People in Tuktoyaktuk are getting excited for this, the Silikmia Tuktoyaktuk Center of Arts and Culture. It will house a hotel, office space, a performance venue, classrooms, and act as a visitor center. Project leaders say it's a much-needed space, something that they see as a point of pride for the community.
It's really important, it's not just for the tourist and tourism, it's for our current and future generation of Inuit. It'll be our building, our place of culture and heritage.
Part of the project will be built to resemble a traditional sod house. That's where the community gathering space will be. A place organizers hope will be used for feasts, dances, and festivals.
I'm of an age where we never did have this. It wasn't celebrated until after our final agreement in 1984. That's when it started.
The hotel and office space are expected to be under construction until March of next year. The Heritage Center will be built after that. The project is expected to cost over $21 million, with more than half of that coming from the Inuvialuit Regional Corporation and Inuvialuit Development Corporation, the rest being paid by the territorial and federal governments. Des Loreen, CBC News, Inuvik.
People in Tulita NWT are also getting excited about a new cultural center in their community. The federal government is committing $16.5 million for it. It'll also house a new Parks Canada office and be a place for people to connect with one another and the land. The mayor of the hamlet says it was created in collaboration with community members and elders. Parks Canada says the centre is expected to be complete and open to the public in 2027. The National Inuit Youth Council has a new president. Iqaluit's Gwen Nutsik will take on the role. The 21-year-old will be the council's spokesperson on a national and international level. Over the next 2 years, she'll be a permanent participant on the board of directors of Inuit Taprit Kanatami and Canada's Inuit Circumpolar Council. Nutsik is working toward a teaching degree and has worked in the mental health space. She says those are both personal causes of hers.
We might think that the big issues are the ones that are widely talked about, but youth might think that it's something smaller. Again, I think it would be education support or something like that. So getting a survey out there or something like that, I think that's one of my main things that I want to get done.
Nutsik says her mission for her 2-year term is to create more awareness among youth for those issues. Chesterfield Inlet Nunavut had quite the surprise this past week. A pod of whales were seen just outside of town, and for local hunters, the chase was on. The CBC's Noel Kaluchak has that story.
The exciting cry of "There's whales out there" was heard loud and clear as the news of the pod spread fast. They were first spotted at Itivia, where people enjoyed spring camping on the outskirts of the community of Chesterfield Inlet. Peter Katagatiak Sr. was one of the hunters who took part in the hunt.
There was much excitement as 3 boats went further looking for the whales. After locating the whales, they chased them up to an island not far from town, and 2 boats caught a couple of whales and proceed to tow their catch closer to the community, where everyone helped to butcher the whales and shared with the community members. It was great to have fresh makdak.
Once the whales were caught, the hunters towed their catch, and everyone came down to the ice to help butcher the catch, including local youth. Peter Katagatiak Jr.'s 6-year-old son, Peterson, likes to go hunting and fishing with his father and learning from his dad. The makdak from the whales was shared with everyone in the community. Now they wait for more whales in the coming weeks. Noel Kalujak, CBC News, Rankin Inlet.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.